My name is Raymond Shook. Today is May 26, 2024. This is FTH 202, Module 5 assignment. Instructor's name is Scott Parr. We'll be going over different areas in the revolver that are particular when inspecting the health of the revolver and why these areas are of particular concern. We'll be identifying 10 different learning experiences that I had throughout the course and why those learning experiences were helpful for me and how I plan to do better in those throughout ahead. I'll also discuss the unique features within the double action platform and how those features have developed over time and what they do for the performance of the firearm. Okay, I'm going to go over some of the spots to inspect for health and why these are a particular concern. I'm going first to ensure that the firearm is empty and clear of ammunition. I'm going to visually and physically inspect. Alright, I did go ahead and remove the side plate, as this will help articulate what we're looking for. Okay, we're going to start. Let me grab my punch. We have our mainspring. The main things you want to watch: the spring right here has a tendency to break. Also, the bar has a tendency to break there or up here. You want to check. Let me pull this back. See if we can hold that right there. You want to watch on the hammer right here at the sear. You want to check the hand for any breakage. Another spot where you want to check, right up here on the firing pin. Right here on the firing pin protrusion. Let's see if I can get this to move forward. Let's see if I can get this in here. Okay, right in here with the firing pin. See if I can get that to stay for a second while I try to explain this. Okay, right in here where your firing pin is. Not enough protrusion because it misfires. Too much protrusion can pierce the primer. You're going to check the firing pin protrusion. Your trigger. You get this pulled back. We're kind of freeze everything up. Okay, on the trigger, it's kind of hard to see. You want to check the trigger sear. You also want to check your trigger spring and the rod. Make sure that that's not broken. The transfer bar, make sure it's not broke, because without it, you can't push up against the firing pin when the hammer comes forward. Any of those things can cause serious issues. The cylinder stop, milk it back up. Okay, your cylinder stop, right here. If it's broken, it cannot stop the cylinder from turning, which can cause major issues. You also want to keep an eye on the timing. The timing is when it rotates and locks in. You want to make sure that everything is lined up properly. Something else to check. Hard to see, but cylinder gap. Too much cylinder gap, you'll end up having I actually experienced this the other day at the range working on a customer's firearm. Cylinder gap looked to be okay, but we had a piece of the lead coming back at us. Very, very unpleasant shooting situation. But that pretty much covers it for the health of the firearm and stuff like that. We're going to move on to 10 learning experiences through this course. I think one of the main ones that got me was the history of the revolver. I already knew a little bit about the history, but this course went into even more detailed history than I already knew, such as the Model 1, where you had to remove the barrel to load the firearm. That was a very interesting concept. Made me actually look it up and find some videos on it to see exactly how that worked. Proper terminology. When working in gunsmithing, proper terminology is a must, especially when you go to order parts. I've run into situations where I've used different terms that have been passed down throughout the years. Go to order a part, can't find the part, have to end up pulling up parts diagram, going through it, find the part, proper term. Cycle of operations, that's another important one. I knew how to operate one of these, but this class taught me a little more on the cycle of operations, and with that, it's allowed me to do a little bit more. That leads into the next thing: testing for malfunctions properly. Knowing the proper cycle of operations allows you to test more properly for malfunctions and what to look for in each step on what should be working right and how it should work. That leads to the next one, which is common malfunctions. By knowing the common malfunctions, you'll kind of know what to look for when a customer comes in and says, my gun won't turn. It gives you an idea of what to look for while you're doing the cycle of operations to look for your malfunction on why the cylinder's not turning. From there, we move into proper disassembly. I know every one of us, we've been taught some shade tree stuff on disassembly. Proper disassembly to prevent any damages is very important. That comes from experience, training, and just mainly doing it. When we get into that, we also come into the cylinder play. Too much cylinder play can mess with your cylinder gap, which is another very important learning experience with cylinder gap. Those two kind of go, they somewhat go hand in hand, but an improperly installed barrel can also lead to cylinder gap. But the cylinder in play, that one there, just a lot of measuring and messing with it. We're going to trigger work. Trigger work, that one there, it's a very touchy situation nowadays due to legal issues. Very few people do them. I do offer it in my shop because I have a lot of competition shooters that come in and they want the trigger to be set for what they do. From there, we'll go to the rifling of the barrels. Okay, rifling is very important. You got people that do precision shooting, they want it to be a little bit more accurate, better for long range, stuff like that. When you do the rifling, something I'm going to do there is down the road I'm planning on going through a course with a barrel manufacturer where they actually teach you how to take a solid blank of metal. Just use this marker as an example. Say this is the solid blank. They'll show you how to take it from a solid blank all the way down to a ready to install barrel and show you how to actually install it properly, headspace it, and all that. Let's see, that was proper terminology, correct cycle of operations, cylinder gap, cylinder in play, rifling of barrels, trigger work, testing for malfunctions, proper disassembly, common malfunctions, and revolver history. The testing for malfunctions, I forgot to cover that one. It all starts with just running the cycle operations with no dummy ammunition, nothing. If everything passes there, throw some dummy ammunition in, run the cycle of operations again, see if there's a malfunction occurs, and if not, take it out, live fire it. And live fire is where a lot of your malfunctions will show their face. Kind of like that one cylinder gap looked to be okay, but as soon as we took it out firing, that's when I realized cylinder gap was off from being hit in the face with lead. All the customer said is when he fired, it felt like someone hit him in the face with a bunch of sand. Alright, now we'll move into the features. Number one feature would have to be the double action sear. Without the double action sear, it went from going from single action where you had to pull the hammer back every time it fired. Yes, you see that in Hollywood where you see these guys just firing away with their revolvers. That takes a lot of training, a lot of modifications and stuff like that. Double action sear makes it where you just pull the trigger time after time after time. Makes it a lot quicker for follow-up shots. The firing system, going from, we're going to say wheel lock to begin with. Wheel lock, that one there, any weather, like any moisture, sand, stuff like that, could end up interfering with it. Made it impractical when you're in real humid environments. Led to a lot of complications. Now we got the modern cartridges, and I'm going to use the dummy round for this. Right here, everything is enclosed. Moisture has no effect on it except for maybe rust on the outside or corrosion, stuff like that. The loading. Once again, back to the Model 1, you had to open it up and all that. Now you just flip open the cylinder, load it in that way. That concludes our FTH 202 final assignment. I really enjoyed this class, and I would really like to thank the instructor for what he taught us and the information he could pass on. Thank you all, and have a good day.